Hey, what's good? What's good? What's good? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Y'all know what it is. It's me, your boy Trey, and this is First Formation Morning Sports Talk. What's going on with y'all? So come on and fall in with us this morning because we got a few things to talk about. So please feel free. Come on, let's get this started. Let's get this started. Let's get this started. I may be a little solo this morning, but it's the show must go on. So, hey, let me give y'all a little, just some time to get ready to fall in, so we can talk about what went down. Got NBA action that went down. A couple of things happened in the NFL. Plenty of stuff going on. Sports, as Bishop talked about yesterday, with the women's World Series Championship Series going on. His beloved Oklahoma City Sooners, currently now taking on, not right now, but are due to fight tonight or in battle tonight as they look to get their game two and secure their yet another women's World Series title. So plenty to talk about. Come on and fall in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, here we go. Here we go. We're on in the groove. Hey, I feel alright now. Do you feel like I feel right now? So, as we knew last night, uh, the NBA had their game three of the NBA's championship, in which, of course, as we know, Boston Celtics did battle in Beantown in Boston with the Golden State Warriors. So, of course, somewhat of a big deal as you watch the game. Caught glimpses of the game as I had a couple of things going on. Um, did it turn out how a lot of y'all felt it would be? Feel free to get in the comments to let me know what you think. Was it what you expected? Did the game come out to be what you expected to be, or was it something more? Feel free in the comments before we get started as I close out some stuff. What's good this morning, Key? How you doing this morning, man? Glad to see you with us. Did you get a chance to catch the game last night, Key? What's going on, Freddie? Good morning. Draymond's in the wrong sport. What sport should he be in, Key? What you think he should be? Put some pads on. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. Sometimes there's a switch. There's a transition point. You gotta go with the transition. You know what I'm saying? Everyone can't go where you going. Maybe that's Draymond's calling now, but he should be good. Hopefully he's able to bounce back. Um, just like completely in my opinion, in the mode of Dennis Rodman. As we know, Dennis Rodman, of course, initially first started out, he was a problem. He could be a correction. He can be a problem. He could have been a problem on the court, putting up points, and now it's just see like that's starting to be Draymond started to make that transition to being more of a specialist or just the do all person on the court, as opposed to having just one niche, to where now he can, instead of he's not worried about scoring. That's what he has Steph, Clay, Jordan, Wiggins, and the rest of the feathers for. He just needs to worry about locking down in certain areas. I guess I would presume that's what he's on, and that's what he's going to start to be called to do. But he ain't do none of that last night. But of course, we'll get to that. We will definitely get to that. Waiting on Friday now for more than just for more than just the weekend. Let's see. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah, most likely. Bishop getting ready to pop his cherry as Bishop is on his way, or will be in going to Las Vegas this weekend. So he's finish up his prepping. Everyone has something to do. It's cool. I could give a little time. What's good, Coach? What's good? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. A little more come in so we can get to talking, get to discussing a couple of things to talk about. So, a few things I get a chance to talk about yesterday. Sometimes when things move a certain way, you just gotta let it go and get into it. A little bit of a flow. Pull that stuff back up. Oh yes, definitely, Coach. And you see it's been coming. I definitely see that it was coming along, and he basically made it made it work for to where they basically he's in there making a difference. X factor, possibly even. Well, definitely an X factor. It's not even to it. He's definitely an X factor. Get in, does what he has to do, and then get out. Let me see. Get to where is one more thing I was looking for. I guess I'll have to remember it. Yes, Key, definitely. Which we definitely gonna speak on that. The stuff that those stats, certain stats, those 4 blocks is almost like getting a whooping. And and you get enough of them, you be like, you know what? I know not to do that. So try to keep them out the paint. But we're definitely gonna get into that. That's part of the topics. It has some segues into a whole bunch of different things that way go. So we're gonna see where the river's gonna take us today. So of course, like I said, get into a couple of things we get a chance to really talk about yesterday. Um, uh, so as we know, everyone already know Darvin Ham accepted, and he's now the Lakers head coach going into for next year. I think he's signing a 4-year deal, of course. So over the course of the next 4 years, Darvin Ham's going to be pushing the 17-time NBA All Star, NBA champion Lakers. Excuse me. Um, so he had his conference over sometime earlier in the week, and of course, who was there, which all has always been conversations, is Russell Westbrook. He was there in attendance, showing his support and giving his support. Darvin Ham also, saying, gave his adieus to him, stating that say he's always been support, and they're going to support them as well, support him as well as they look to build some type of uh, some bond and continuity amongst each other. Ideally, he'll like it to be. Um, he believes that Russell Westbrook still has something in the tank and can be is one of the most dynamic guards in the game today. And basically, he wants to look forward to the opportunity to do that. And now, if he's not able to do that, then he wants to at least be, or he wants, if he can't get him in that, he wants to be able to see what he can contribute. Of course, if you're listening closely, that might mean taking a backseat to some things. to see if Russell is going to be up for doing that or even willing to do that at some point. You have to take that in consideration. It's a conversation to be had. I'm very sure they're going to talk about it. So, Coach, that's a good point. As he did, and that was the other part of this conversation is he did release a good amount of people. He released Fizdale. He released Fizdale. He released as I let me see, go back and find my list. Uh, he released Fizdale, Mike Penberthy, and John Lucas III as from his assistant coaching, and then of course, but he did for continuity. He did retain Phil Handy as well as Quentin Crawford on the organization, and basically he's trying to mimic other places in which he's been, and he wants to build a multifunctional unit to where everyone gets in and gets their hands dirty. It's not necessary that you have a situation to where it's just a player. I mean, a coach that is strictly defense or has a defense mindset. He wants it to be where everyone can roll their sleeves up and get down into it. So, of course, as we know, one of the other coaches which he's brought in, Rasheed Wallace, is going to give him an opportunity as he's going to be assistant coach. So he's looking to build a unit where everyone is going to be. He's very forthcoming in talking about what it is that he's looking for. Not to say necessarily that Penberthy, John Lucas III, or Fizdale wasn't able to do that, but he just as you say, I want coaches to roll their sleeves up and get in there with everyone else, and that's where he's been in the places where he's been. That's what he's been doing, and he's like that, so he looks to bring that on with him. So that is of course, me myself, I hope that works out fine. Of course, it's a situation. Being like I said, the military based show into some aspect, and you got to take that in consideration. There's been people who are leaders, myself included, who have gone to other units or organizations or gone to other places, and you kind of when you go in, you want to set the tone, your tone, not the tone based on anyone else or what people do, and that could be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people because you get into a situation where you're accustomed to how things have been or accustomed to doing things your way, and when you get someone else that is calling the shots, they get into it's a situation to where it's like, okay, well, I I don't have to be here, or you get the kickback, the pushback. So a lot of times players have been seen as prima donnish and have the propensity not to conform. And of course, being they had three, um, one billionaire and two multi-millionaire players that are on the roster, 40 million plus, is going to be interesting to see if they're going to be willing to conform for the betterment of the team. And that's the biggest thing, coach. Hopefully, it doesn't turn into, or it could be. I mean, value is always a figure of value that Rasheed Wallace as well as Darvin Ham have an impact on Anthony Davis to where maybe figure out better things, how to take care of his body, take care of any particular elements. As they say, bring the dog out of him to where he's a problem. Get down low, a banger, and then use some of the other things, those abilities they have to handle the ball and shoot, uh, but to be more of a banger and show that he has a presence in the paint, as we're seeing, the paint presence is very prevalent in the NBA still. Even though teams shoot, it doesn't hurt to go back to the days of to reuse that to remix and have a fault. So to have a good game. Uh, or his bag. So I look forward to that definitely and seeing what Darvin Ham can bring forth to the organization because we need it. I want it. Um, so as we know, speaking everything, you know what? This segment should be the 6 degrees of LA Lakerisms. So, in that saying, Coach, to a degree, I would agree with that. So, the focus on LeBron, I think, is you could dismiss that because LeBron is on the back part of his career and is more conducive into he's being at some point he has to start to die down. So what I hope the Lakers don't do is make the same mistake they did made with Kobe in relying on him to be the person to bring people in and people want to come play with him or not, and basically being around the organization start to be, I think, in my opinion, was starting to become more of a hindrance than it was of a benefit. Because yes, you're playing with one of the greatest and presumably greatest player of all time or in that era. In which you look at it, we had Kareem, then we had Shaq, then we had Kobe, then we had LeBron. But we have to start to transition from that. And I don't know if that's AD is a transition, if there's someone else that's out there, or is it the coupling of AD um and Russ, and maybe to bring someone on later on as LeBron leaves. But however, I do agree with that. If Davis isn't healthy, it's a problem because he's a focal point, and he's expected to be one of the leaders and one of the main three. It's main three in that core of players, and if AD isn't there, then yes, it does cause problems because he's not playing, and he's so who else? Someone else has to pick up the slack, whether it be LeBron putting in more, Russ putting in more. I can't really speak on any of the other players now because they haven't been re-signed that are free agents. I'm definitely not going to put talent THT in that boat. Oh yes, without a doubt, Coach. Without a doubt. Yes, true that. Yeah, and the inconsistency again. We talked about that constantly. Even now in this series, this World NBA series, we talk about the same thing. Like the inconsistencies is starting to show, and that could be hellacious, whether it's in military basketball or heck squads or saying platoons, battalions. Inconsistencies are a problem and are seen as such. And if you don't get it right, then it's gonna at some point build and build, and now it's hard to overcome over the course. And now you find yourself after closer to the 82 game season coming to an end, and you're in a play-in, having to put more wear and tear on your body, lower seed in the playoffs, and dealing with that's problem. As we say, mental. In my opinion, ball becomes more mentally uh, of a problem than it does physically. Of course, the physical is prevalent, but if you're handling stuff mentally and having issues to where you like, man, we against this Golden State team or uh, these dogs in Memphis, and we just not there yet, then now when you go on the court, that could take over too. So, but definitely inconsistencies, I agree, coach, are a huge problem. And Anthony Davis' inconsistent play, um, I'm very sure has a problem, just like no different from not having LeBron there for a certain amount of time. They didn't have a answer for it, and we just watched them fall from a second best team to a fourth best team to a sixth best team, holding on to that to the seventh, eighth, ninth, and right on out the even the play in, which is not the pedigree for any Lakers team. Heck, Smush Parker playing with the Lakers back in the day, we did better than what this Laker team did. So of course, consistency is the key. It might even be a hashtag going forward, consistency. Um, but like I say, having the Lakers talking a little Laker talk for the most part. 6 degrees of LA as of course the next topic in which I want to talk about um, is I'm not necessarily going to say it's just shots fired, but it's probably expected. As you know, Patrick Riley is the president of basketball over in Miami, in which he had the little discussion uh, during last week. in which he talked about where he was at, as if it's time for him to hang up his shoes, or the basketball shoes, or his hat, and go in, as Pat Riley is now 77 years old. But of course, he feels like he's not going anywhere. He doesn't have anything. He doesn't have that. He's not done. He's at least going to see the rebuild of the Miami Heat all the way through. Excuse me. And saying that, he talked about a couple of things. One being Tyler Hero. So he's talked about Tyler Hero, how Tyler Hero talks about and speaks on how he wants to be a starter. So Pat Riley says, just like anybody else, or just like the people before him, he has to earn a starting position. And then he went even further to sit and give some pointers of what he can do to become a starter. And then that was being said that he needs to become a two-way player. He needs to go as hard as one end as he does as the other. And he doesn't see that in him yet, in which doesn't allow him to that uh, be that in which he's certain. Of course, I don't know if that's going to be some friction. I know y'all. Please let me know, what do you think about Tyler Hero? Does he has a propensity, or does he have a possibility of being a great player based on becoming a two-way player and doing it at both ends of the court? Of course, I don't know, like I was about to say, if that's going to cause problems in Tyler Hero's thought process of should he be in Miami. But it came from his own president of basketball, the great Patrick Riley. He's got a couple of championships on this. He has a handful, if anything, within LA as a player and a coach. And then going in on Miami, winning again in Miami with two different eras, with the LeBron era, with the D Wade and Shaq era. Uh, so it might be a situation something to listen to. Additionally, yeah, called out. I was about to say next, coach called out Kyle Lowry when he said Lowry is a little older in age. Again, we talked about that. It was just speaking about that where we said the physical aspect starts to take when the age comes in, and how he would like Lowry to come in better condition and than he is. He's like, of course, he's had some other personal problems, in which, of course, he didn't speak about. But he's like, additionally, he has his own personal problem where his conditioning has not been what it should be, and I guess he's been watching them even when he was playing in Toronto and thinking the same thing. Of course, bringing them into Miami and saying that he needs to do better. He would like to see him do more as far as conditioning himself, so he can be ready for the season. And then, of course, lastly, he talked about okay, here's Jamal Crawford. You think okay, pure score. Ooh. Not a starter at all, coach. Not even an inkling. He's gonna be he'll just be better coming in off the bench. A six man, Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford esque, Manu Ginobili. Even though I think Manu Ginobili even had a good start. All right. But is that enough in this day and age, coach, to just all offense, just to be strictly offense? I think that the two-way player is definitely the way of the NBA to be to give that consistency we are talking about. We got our scorers, we got, like you say, our pure scorers and stuff like that. But the two-way player, I definitely think is the way of the NBA. If you're a good two-way player, you sometimes you can't get exposed, and you're more likely to do the exposing. But yes, definitely back on this, Riley. That's the type of leader you want to hold people accountable, but also to understand the culture and the way things are going now and pushing in that way. And being said, he did talk about uh, Jimmy Butler and how you're saying that dog mentality is what's needed, but only to a degree. He talked about briefly about the blow up between himself, Haslam, and between Butler has them, and Coach Spoelstra, in which he's like, sometimes you need that so that way internally y'all can handle situations and take care of it, but you don't need it happening out in the public like that, and you don't need to for it to happen too many times, as that could be a detriment, and you start to lose the respect of your locker room as a coach, or even the respect of the locker room as a player when you're looking at if they hold the coach in a certain regard. And showing us there's a place for these type of players in the league, but they will have to be exposed. True, yeah, true that, and and this is definitely coming, especially when you look at the series, um, to where potentially, as you spoke about, Coach Jordan Poole is we don't know yet. It hasn't came back. At least I didn't see anything in reference to Curry and what could have been an injury last night. Of course, that means if Curry has to sit out a game due to an injury, then enter Jordan Poole, you would think. And now this player, which we speak of now, which Coach Ryan was just speaking about, like he's basically they're showing that there's a place for a pure scorer with that Jordan Poole has that, and there's a place for it. But of course, at some point, would be exposed, in which would Boston and their defense will probably be the team to do it early before it really gets started. So, and that being said, let's push into last night's game. As you know, like I said at the beginning, the top of the hour, WNBA, the NBA had their game 3 last night. Boston was the host, in which not too many things was too much different. But in state, Boston wins 116-100. The Celtics led by their trio in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart, 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Jaylen Brown, 27 points, 5 rebounds. 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Jason Tatum, 26 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists. Contributions from Al Horford, 11 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Robert Williams, 8 rebounds. 8 points, 10 rebounds, no assists, but he did have 4 key blocks. Derek Williams, 7 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 10 points, 5 rebounds from Grant Williams. Pritchard with 3 points, 1 assist in 10 minutes of play. The Warriors, led by Steph Curry's 31 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists from Jordan Poole. Otto Porter Jr., 6 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists. 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. Gary Payton, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists from Andrew Wiggins. Kevin Looney, 6 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. With Greens, 2 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Klay Thompson, 24 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. As that was the outcome. That outcome, you will listen to the stat line and you think like, okay, that's not that bad. But of course, there's underlining situations and stuff when you look at it. Basically, the dominance of the paint and the glass was a key factor in this, in which enters Robert Williams III, the center for the Boston Celtics. Although he has a knee injury, he's basically kind of playing on one leg. Excuse me. Basically, he's kind of playing on one leg, in which he's showing his presence, even though he's not doing all the scoring. But he did have a situation to where the in last night's game, it was a 52-26 paint difference. It was as evident that they're doing that. Boston is controlling the paint currently. As we seen, like we just talked about, Draymond Green, he doesn't seem to have any presence in the game. At least he didn't have any presence in game 3. Let's say that. So with the dominance of 52-26, over 50% difference in scoring in the paint, and is all in his Boston's favor. And then of course, like I say, you have Robert Williams that's doing that seems to be doing all the damage on the defensive end. The Golden State Warriors only scored 10 points when he's in the game. and then 16 points when he's out the game. So there's even Horford is holding down the paint, uh, and I guess some of the bigger guards is holding down the pace as well as Tatum. No call, Steve. Are both in the floor. So I don't know if we can attest this to the official officiating yet, Steve. Um, I mean, of course, we all know we have conversations and talk about it before that. Officials can be the officiating aspect can basically turn the tide of games, but I'm not sure if that was what we seen last night, or that's something that we can assimilate to the outcome of last night's game when we look at it. But I mean, it's they're human, as we sit up and talked about and had discussions. They're human, and sometimes that type of stuff happens. But definitely don't think it's a situation where we can call that to simulate that. That was some of the issues that happened last night. Um, I know one thing that was talked about, which was caught, so maybe it's not even the news, but I wonder, did Boston try it? Because it was found that the the rim on the court wasn't at the proper level or height during the shoot arounds for Golden State. So it's a so they tried it out. Of course, their eye didn't see it. They brought out the measuring stick to see, and found it was a few inches higher, which they got adjusted. Not to say that it was something in which Boston tried to get past, but it was conversations that back in the day, Red Auerbach used to do things like cut the heat off in the visiting team's locker room, create dead spots on the floor in certain areas for the visiting teams, and things of that nature. Yeah, 2 inches higher. So that 2 inches didn't make a difference. Does 2 inches make a difference? Uh, but of course, stuff like that. Um, okay, I got you. See, I got you. Excuse me. But yes, but back to the dominance, the paint and glass dominance. Um, I, we talked about Kevin Looney briefly yesterday. Uh, we've been talking about, which that was the first thing Coach Rod got on and spoke about, is basically that Robert Williams is the X factor, and he proved that last night as he showed his dominance. He just showed he's a factor in this. He hasn't been a factor which anyone has thought of. But again, when you take in consideration, we said Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum's going to get theirs. But when you get Marcus Smart going from 2 to 24, and then you get even Robert Williams holding down the middle and being a rim protector, those are factors that aren't necessarily taken into equation. Although I'm very sure they are, but from an aspect of when you look at it, those aren't taken. We're not talking about Robert Williams, but we are talking about. We even had the conversation about who needs to be that third consistency in order to get back into the game. And yesterday, Ron brought up Marcus Smart. I spoke about Al Horford, but of course Marcus Smart did show up uh, with a 22-point effort, which wasn't matched by. Well, technically Clay did match 25 points last night, but it's just not enough. Yeah, true that, Coach. And that's the problem right there. He can't account for Robert Williams. As we said, the starting five for Boston is better than the starting five for Golden State. And that's going to be the overall issue in which he can't account for that. You can only hope that someone else is runners over in what they're doing, in which and hopefully get ahead of it. Why is that, Anthony? Why the Golden State? Why is Golden State making you mad? As I wait for Anthony's offer back. So excuse me. In that being said, although we're saying this with the X Factor and all that, Golden State still did what they have been doing and usually do is they made a push in the third quarter, even going up and getting the lead back in the third quarter. But of course, what happens is Boston reasserted themselves. They took it on the chin. They didn't falter too much, and they allowed themselves to, stumble and then get their footing and then prepare for it and push the game back for it. Golden State was up by 3 points, and then it all turned. I blinked, and next thing you know, it was a 12 point lead, and blinked again, and then it just continued to go. So, both liabilities, coach. So what I did see, and what is going to make it is interesting to me. I would like to see if Boston's going to continue with that. What we saw definitely is, as opposed to dancing and going all around, taking backdoor cuts and all that type of stuff, we saw a lot of straight streamline driving to the cup. Like it wasn't all that playing around or anything like that. Going straight to the rack. Getting fouls. Jason Tatum late in the game started asserting himself and just going straight to the hole. And he was even getting fouled. He was getting and ones. He was scoring. It was some tough ones, but basically he was scoring. Jaylen Brown, we already know, has that, and he does that all the time. And then, of course, like Coach, this is what you was just talking about and saying about Poole and Clay. I mean, Poole and Curry. Marcus Smart start taking the straight to him, getting into Steph's body, kind of touching him up a little bit, and it seems like it's starting to show on Steph that Marcus Smart's a bigger body, and he could get into there. Of course, no Draymond, as Draymond has fouled out, so all that start to take a place and make a difference. So we might see a different game 4 come Friday. Oh yeah, definitely not. Yeah, I got you, Coach. Well, yeah, definitely, I can see what you're talking about. Oh yeah, without a doubt, Anthony. If Golden State doesn't get a dub on Friday, it changes the whole trajectory of the game of the series. In which, of course, not just the fact of they'll be down 3-1, but they'll be down 3-1. You start to have old old thoughts and stuff for the last 3-1 they were in, to where Durant was in Golden State, and Boston in the Toronto just continued to lean on, and then got him up out of there. Although there was Clay was injured, but it's definitely a situation to where it's not looking to. I mean, it hasn't completely turned yet, but definitely after game 4, we'll see what we can kind of see or simulate that this is what it's probably going to be if Boston gets that game 4. I don't know if Golden State to come back from that. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to relent that, Coach. I don't know yet. I can feel it though. I can definitely see it and feel it. You like you said, Coach. So, do you think, from a coaching aspect, or anyone for that aspect, but due to the fact that Coach Rod was speaking about, do you think legitly that Coach Udoka is out coaching Steve Kerr, or do you think that it's just some of the players aren't executing, and this is what it's coming out to be? Or did the Golden State's, like we're the great Golden State, get ahead of them a little bit, and now you're seeing to where Boston, I think we talked about it before on here, how the disrespect of the players nowadays to those that come before them, and Boston's like, we don't care, we here. I'll be interested to hear what that is. But going back in, uh, Draymond, Draymond Green, has he been equalized and completely removed from the series? Like, what is going on with Draymond? Is he's not going to be able to? We seen what he did in game 2, like we said, the antics and tactics to get underneath people's skin and stuff like that. But is it a situation to where, just like the body when you get a cold or something like that, they're able to to build immunity to it and come back and fight it off, and then you don't have to worry about it for the most part or a good amount of time. Is that what we see going on when it comes to Draymond? Like what his productivity is starting to be non-existent on the court to where everything is just goes to where it's a tangible situation to where it's like, okay, yeah, Draymond is an agitator that makes a difference, but what happens when the agitation can't doesn't work anymore, and you can't hide the fact that that now again someone else on the court that had can be exposed easily. Mm, zero answers. I think that's one of the same, Anthony, or I think it's of equal, both has of equal blame to receive for the most part. Uh, if you take Boston, if they were to win the series, but definitely, when we talked about it before, that he was being outcoached. We said, or Coach Uriah has said that in plenty of times in which uh, Curry got outcoached in Game One, he believed. Presumably, he got outcoached in Game Three. Um, Now going forth, what is it to do? Like he doesn't have, like you said, Robert Williams. You don't have an answer for. It's like the broken play, like we talked about it in football. How I always, my personal opinion is that a lot of time, especially when they had what's my man Tyreek Hill, that um, Patrick Mahomes used to get away with a lot of broken plays because Tyreek Hill's skill set was built for that. To where if it's a play breaks down, he has a skill set that allows him to get into certain areas, being at his speed and his size, and get up out them certain areas to create positivity in the play. Um, so now you have that in where but you can't defend that. It's almost impossible to defend that. So currently that's what we see in Robert Williams, the third, in which it's hard to defend a person that you don't know when he's going to show up and how he's going to show up. Of course, he's a big body. Like they say, you can't teach always, and he has some size on him as well. So it's like, that's one thing, and then he can give you 8 points and hold the paint down to where now his 8 points has become a positive, and now you like wondering why he's erasing 4 shots. That's 8 points that could have been neutral, that could have neutralized him, even though they lost by 16. But then but that sip and brings up other things, and he's in the paint. Of course, we saw the play last night where him and Jordan, where Jordan Poole isolated him, and he we went as far as he could until Jordan Poole had a good play where he stopped and can't cut back, and got the reverse on the opposite side, and Robert Williams couldn't recover. So you have those instances, but those are few in between, and a lot of other ones in which you got, of course, straight line he erased. So with that being said, the out coaching aspect and and the players being getting outplayed is all I think, in my opinion, is should have equal blame. It's like at some point you can't. There's only so much a coach can do, and these are professionals. So someone has to buy in, or okay, we had Heat check Clay 25 points. I mean, and he scored, but then in the waning moments in which you would have thought he would have been knocked down, he wasn't. He didn't. He had some shots in which hit back iron, side iron. Uh, we had open shots from Wiggins, in and out. They just wasn't prepared to take this what Boston threw at them late in the fourth quarter, and as they reasserted themselves to get the lead and hold the lead. And what you see is Boston, when they get a lead, they smother it. Anything after the third quarter, fam, Boston starts to smother you. And if even the smallest of leads, a 9 to 14 point lead, they hold, and they basically, it's almost like a pit bull shaking the someone they got a grasp on, and that seems to be what Boston does. Correct. So, excuse me. So definitely, coach, and I mean, so it's funny, coach, because even sometimes, a lot of times, you sit back and a lot of people say the same thing, like, why aren't you going at him to get him in foul trouble? And I don't know if they feel like they have that, or if it becomes working because let's say going at him get him in foul trouble, he gets a block or two. Sometimes those blocks become fast break points, or turns into offense on the other end. And is it worth trying that x amount of times to see if it's going to work or if he could get it? Like, what? Who? Who do you see that has that ability to probably get Robert Williams into foul trouble? I mean, Curry, maybe. I don't think Clay, maybe Wiggins, possibly, and then Poole. But besides that, there's no one I don't think you can see that'll be effective enough to be able to even get do as such. So I don't see what's good, Corin. How you do, Cornelius? What's going on with you this morning, brother?
What's up with it, boss?
Nothing much, nothing much, nothing much. You came in just at the right time. So I don't know if you see the comment in which, but this question you feel free to ask. As Coach Uriah states, think about the teams that Boston has beat: Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Miami. Robert Williams turns teams into jump shooting teams. To counter it, I have to go at him to foul trouble. I'm surprised teams have not figured that out yet. And I was just saying that I don't know if that is if it's worth the risk of offense
Uh,
becoming defense becoming offense.
uh, I don't know. As far as I really don't think anyone can clearly say that Robert Williams is having all that much of an impact. Is he's in and out of the lineup. He's hurt. He's playing limited minutes. He's not playing like a ton of minutes. Uh, in the other series, I think he impacted it, especially when he stepped up with Giannis, the way Giannis was pushing him around against Milwaukee. I agree
Mm-hmm.
with that. And then he came back, and it was a bunch of offensive fouls on Giannis. He wasn't, because he stood his ground. I do think he changes the game when they drive. Um, Sometimes, but he's not there all the time. Golden State's problem. The problem in this series right now is Golden State. They can't defend. That's the only problem is they can't defend. It's like it's not anything that they're doing specifically. There's a lot of open shots close to the basket. Several times, Clay, Steph, Jordan Poole, they all get to the basket, and they can't put the ball in the basket. And then they wait for fouls. And then they throw their hands up like they should get fouls. I mean, Robert Williams is a good player, but he's not having that big of an impact, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, you think the coach saying talked about the small ball era in the analytics that has coaches being exposed.
You say small ball era. Let me see that again. Small ball era analytics. Coaches being exposed. They think they can shoot. I'll shoot this team. Uh, yeah, a little bit. Like I said, Golden State just can't. Man, they can't put the ball in the bucket. And they don't. And they playing terrible defense. Last night they played terrible defense. It was a lot of driving, a lot of one-on-one driving. It was like set your man up, take him any way you want to take him. And I really would like to say small ball. Everybody thought jump shooting teams would make it. Golden State proved that wrong. Boston is shooting. Boston is shooting better. All certain players have stepped up. Derek White, man. Derek White. Um, he was horrible in some of the other series, man. But Derek White, uh, on both ends of the court, affecting the game. His defense, he's a better defender than I'm sure Popovich thought. Uh,
Uh huh.
but the biggest thing is Golden State. Golden State's offense is not. They're not moving like you would think that they would move, and they're not scoring like you would think that they would score. It's Boston that's getting to the bucket and putting the ball in the bucket. Is it the length? Now I would say it's the length of the Celtics that's a problem. Steph having to when he drives, throwing over those long arms and things, and Clay Thompson brought it last night. which I thought was a wasted effort. But the rest of it's like the rest of the guys not doing anything. Draymond gives you nothing. He gives you nothing. Just a bunch of mouth and dirty play, in my opinion. He gives you nothing, so it's not specifically the small ball. It's the way it's the way they using it. You're not getting anything. I heard someone say it's 4-on-5s a lot of the times, and it's 4-on-5 sometimes when Draymond's on the court because he's not doing anything. He's not putting the ball. He's not shooting well. He's not. Half the time, he's not even really defending well. Supposed to be a great defender, he's not defending that well. I mean, who is he defending that he's stopping? I mean, Horford does this every series. Big game, soft game. So it's not anything that Draymond specifically doing out there that's really impacting the game. I think he's a liability right now, especially on the offensive end. I would go smaller, in my opinion, and find some shooting. Get some shooting out there. You need points against this team. You lost 116 to 100? Yeah, you got to get some points if you're not going to play defense.
True that. Coach Uriah says that Boston reminds him of the teams in the 90s, traditional center and power forward. Of course, he wants to see the small ball era and 3-point shooting era go away, but he says salute to Curry, but saying pass the torch. Excuse me, well, I presume pass the torch back to. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to go back, and this is why you got 7-footers that can shoot 3-pointers now. And everybody's fascinated with the 3-point shot. It's so and analytics are taking over the game. Analytics are telling them that a mid-range shot, you might as well step back and take the three, or you might as well go to the bucket. So yeah, it's not. I don't think it's going to go back anytime soon because they're not. Where's the traditional center? Name a traditional center right now. I mean, even Joel Embiid shoots a lot of long-range shots. Jokic shoots a lot of long-range shots. I mean, where are the traditional centers? I mean, where they come from?
I think he's speaking specific to this era. I mean, to this series, in which he said in this point is Robert Williams because he's not just stepping out to shoot a 18 or 20-footer. He's a banger. When he gets the opportunity, but we know more so that he's expected. Of course, he's ailing. He has a bad knee, but even on a bad knee, he shouldn't be. You say you don't think he's even impacting the game.
What is his stats? Like, what is his stats? What's his impact? Like, what are his stats? Because I don't know.
Last night he was 8-10, no assists and 4 blocks.
Well, the four blocks are key, but really 8 points. That's all right. But as far as what Boston is doing, man, I'm surprised at Boston. I didn't think that they would hang like this. I didn't think that they were that good, to be honest. I thought Golden State would have mopped up the floor with them. I thought Golden State. I mean, for real, I thought Golden State would have just blown them out. Man, you got those young guys. But all I see is young guys taking it to these older guys, man. More aggressive, faster to loose balls. Once they got every now and then they'll let Draymond get in their head and that kind of stuff. But other than that, Boston, is it the coaching? My question would be to Coach, is it the coaching over there, Coach U? Because it looks like what's his name, Udoka got those guys.
We were talking about just before you got on, we sit up and spoke about that. Like it's basically isn't Coach Udoka out coaching Steve Kerr. He's running circles around him at this point.
Okay, I just want to say this about the game last night. Coaching is a problem, and we had talked about this one of the last times on the show about the egos of the coaches, man. It's egos of the coaches sometimes because Steph Curry was balling in the third quarter, and then he sits him down. I mean, I would have preferred to let him finish out that third quarter hot and keep the momentum going. But as soon as they got a little lead, it's like he took him out. Like Curry took him out of the game, and it was like, hey, this dude's on fire. You might want to keep him in there to keep y'all hanging in. And as soon as he took him out, the game went the other way. The rest of that third quarter and the fourth quarter went the other way. It's like it's about. I know you got to get Steph rest, but I would have rested him at the beginning of the fourth quarter and kept that momentum going because you never know. Golden State probably would have still had. They probably would have still had a chance.
Is it a chance? What do you think it was a chance in which he started to think he could be rely on Clay and Poole in while resting Steph, and it didn't go because Clay, although he scored 25 last night, he still seems to be reverting back to slump Clay as opposed to Game 6 Clay.
But I think that's what it is. I think Steve Kerr got a little bit ahead of himself. That's what I'm saying about the coaches. Like thinking, oh, these guys can do it. I can rest my guy. It's like no, you needed him to finish out that quarter strong because he was killing them. He was killing them last night, especially in that third quarter. Where would they have been without Steph in that third quarter?
And now we see where they are without Steph in the third quarter. As now they're down to 2-1. If I know it's like I to me I hate sitting up and saying like with the ifs and stuff like that. Not from the fact of if what I'm saying because I won't go to state, but the simple fact of if they win, if Boston wins and wins at home again, game three, is that the fair assumption to say that it's over? Like Golden State is not going to recover from that. Coach Uriah already stated that he doesn't. It doesn't matter what happens game three. It's clear that Boston is the better team, and they're going to take care of Golden State regardless. But do you think there's an opportunity? There's a chance that uh, for Golden State, even if Boston gets game four.
I hate to say it, I picked Golden State, but it seems like it's going to be a disappointing year for Golden State if things don't change. They don't buck up to the challenge. Coach is absolutely right. Like whether they win game four or not, Golden State are in trouble because they can't. They're not answering the. You got one guy that you're saying aggressive. Do you hear yourself? The whole Boston Celtic team is aggressive. Everybody that steps on the court is bringing it. It doesn't matter. You got one guy we're talking about, Draymond on the Warriors. I mean, everybody else better, they better grow a set real quick, or else it's over. And to me, is like I said, it's the defensive end for Golden State. Put up more of a fight. Put up more of a fight on the defensive end. Did you see how easily Otto Porter? What is it? Otto Porter.
Otto Porter Jr.
It's like everybody wants him. Did you? Marcus Smart, come on, let me just take you to the hole. Jason Tatum, come on, let me. And he just backs up. It's like, hey, man, stay in your ground a little bit. Make them go around you. Yeah, it's going to be a wrap because I see one team really hungry and I see another team relying on experience or what they think is experience or whatever, and not really accepting the challenges out there on the court.
And I can agree with you. I think last night what you start to see is, especially with Draymond out, and it's crazy that we still talk about the fact that with Draymond out, that they're starting to be more aggressive going to the cup to where. But last night, of course, you see Marcus Smart when he took Steph down low, gave him a little body, leaned into him, and Steph kind of folded and let him get the shot off. And you'll say Marcus Smart being the bigger body is like, I was like, it's like they found their Huckleberry. It's probably over now. They probably now the players are probably starting to see all kinds of stuff and feeling that they're about to buckle. They're done. And Draymond not being there, even though like you said, Draymond gives nothing. He does like he gives eight or nine assists and rebounds, but nothing on the offensive end. 7 points, 6 points, and things of that nature. So it starts to be it seems like the avalanche is coming, in which is going to be a downtrodden year, a long year. Just think about it. It remains to be said that you go through all this throughout the course of the year just to get to this point, and only one team can walk away, and the other team has to go lick their wounds and look at it like, okay, let's get ready to try to do it again next year. But in any case, that's what it is. That's sports, folks. As we were saying earlier, as I as we were saying earlier, now you have Golden State could be in a familiar territory, 3-1. It could be there. It could be there again. In which they'll be on the opposite side of the spectrum or a coin as you look at it as when Cleveland came back from 3-1 with them to put them in a to give them their first loss in the finals. But them 3-1, they haven't been able to do the same or replicate that. Um, and from what we was just talking about, Cornelius was just saying he doesn't foresee it happening. Coach and Cornelius basically has stated now that they don't foresee Golden State being able to come. It would take a lot at this point for them to come back, and they don't have a plan. Um, Overspoken, okay. He fouled out. That clearly shows he's also a liability. As Snook was just saying, uh, they targeted him.
Yeah.
Draymond is.
I mean, and why not? And why not? If he's supposed to be the bully on the block, why not go at him? I mean, you don't have to go at anybody else. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I think that's Udoka's mindset. Hey, go get him. You know.
Ashton said, yeah, it happened last night, man. I thought Golden State was going to continue to keep them momentum and step up on the gas. Something happened last night. They just jumped all over the Golden State and got and get go. Seemed like they weren't more aggressive, as just as Cornelius is saying, they're home. Golden State's going to have to match that. And we talked about the briefly
Oh,
yesterday, the home
can they?
being home. And it might be that, like you said, it might be that it might not even be home. It might be the simple fact that Golden State just doesn't have it. What we thought we seen in Golden State may not be what's actually there in Golden State. Like we see Steph Curry is holding them down. He's doing what he has to do. But where's his help at? And truly we're covering our eyes and omitting the fact of Clay has only showed up 1 to 3 games. Well, somewhat game two. But you know what I'm saying? But the games that when he needs to show up, he's not there. And so of course we know Draymond has a specific role and he's not even being to inherit in that role and we're relying on Poole to backfield Looney. Just like people talk about Looney when I brought up, okay, Looney was one of the people that was in the top 5 for the MVP award. Basically, it's like that. Everyone was like, "What the hell is Looney doing?" And so, what the hell is Looney doing? We don't see not a single. It's nothing like. And obviously, Robert Williams dominated and pushed him around, obviously, and made a difference. So it's like it's a changing of the guard. It seems. What we kudos to Golden State for for the efforts, but it's looking like man, it's like stop all that talk. We here, like you say, the disrespect
Yeah.
the young cats is like I don't care what you used to do. If you
Right.
were still doing that, I wouldn't be here.
Did you see Jason Tatum after the game in his on the court with the Lisa Salters on? Did you
When she
see
stood and
that
asked him about how does it feel to be in the
about the
same
old school? I think.
with the old school. He's like, man, he's like that. He's like, woo, 89. He's like, I was born in 90. What do you say, 93? 98. 98. He's like, I was born in
98.
98. I was born in 98, so I ain't see that. It's like 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 you you know who Magic Kareem and Cooper is. I was like it's like
Yeah, I
see
like that approach. I like that approach because right now it's about what they're doing right now. It's like talk to them about what they're doing to win against these Warriors, man. Whoop the Warriors actually, like because both games that only thing I don't like about this series is neither game has really been close at the end of the game. Game one was entertaining. Boston came all the way back. Last night for briefly Golden State came back, but man, for the most part, it's just been runaways. 3 games runaways.
and it's like every game is a third quarter. The third quarter is the turning point.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Every era comes to an end. I agree with that too. I can't wait until Kawhi plays, man. I can't wait to see them, man. For real. Like tougher defense. Make everybody around you better. Um, I can't wait to see what he brings to the table, if anything, in that West, because Golden State take nothing away from them, like 6 of the 8 or whatever the finals appearances, but they've always been a little light, and I think that they just got lucky to play against some Cleveland Cavalier teams that didn't have much on them, um, when they won. You saw as soon as Cleveland had a little bit of something on it, they didn't win. They would play. They probably would have beat Toronto that year if they didn't have those two injuries, Clay and KD.
Yeah, KD, yeah.
But other than that, this is the thing. You can push them around. You saw even the James Harden's Rockets one time had them up against the ropes.
True.
OKC had them up against the ropes. It's just people get into all that. Like you get hot. Like one game can change it. That's why if you Boston, you don't want it to come to a game seven because then if that three starts falling for Golden State, they can beat you on the court. But if that three's not falling, as you saw last night, in certain situations when it seemed like they could gain momentum, either Jordan Poole or Klay Thompson or even Steph Curry takes a bad 3-pointer where Boston grabs that ball and runs it to the other end of the court, and it's an easy bucket on the other end, or it's a three going the other way. So yeah, I think they rely too much on the 3-point shot in key situations.
Definitely, I see what you say. So, of course, waiting to see is where Golden State is currently, as they're waiting to see what's the outcome for Steph Curry's injury. If Steph has to sit a game, is it over, or can do you think Golden State can win with if Curry has to sit out?
I don't think they have a chance winning.
Win them,
Take
let
Steph out of
alone.
that picture. Take Steph out of the picture last night. What would be their point total? Like I said, you wasted a good game. I mean, Golden State had to feel disappointed because you wasted a good. Finally, you get a good game from Klay Thompson, a decent game, and you blow it. You blow it. So that
And
says it
so,
all right there,
especially on
man.
that fact, especially in that aspect, like you don't know
And
what he
Jordan
might not.
Poole, where's
Let's
Jordan
see.
Poole? Where's Jordan
What did he
Poole?
put up? 10 point. He 24 minutes last night. 10 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists.
But where is he as far as this guy was? He was a 20, 30
So
point scorer in other series. Where is he?
I think it's all being laid. I think everything is on Clay this time around, and it's starting to be the detriment to be not to even say that they're relying on one player. Yeah, if Corey says they lose 20 plus points, is there anyone else that can pick the points up? Well, I guess you need more than pickup. You need someone that's going. Even if they can distribute those 20 points amongst the other players, they still need someone else. They still need more points even after that. So it's sad when
Um,
you got to see
no,
this type of stuff.
because you relying on Draymond. I mean, even in his so-called game where everybody was saying game two or whatever, he scored 9 points. I mean, seriously, like 9 points, man. Like sometimes,
Yeah,
I know you can impact games in different ways, and they talk about all this impact. No, basketball sometimes it's simple. You got to put the ball in the bucket. If you can't put the ball in the bucket, hey, especially like at crucial times, like Draymond gives you nothing in the crucial moments. Looney didn't give you much. I mean, you got to get scoring from somewhere. I mean, these are guys that are playing minutes. You're giving minutes to guys that's not getting things done.
that's not producing.
Um,
Yeah, 35
yeah, and I
minutes,
think
2 minutes.
I think the hurt right now. I know he's old, but I think the hurt right now is Iguodala, man. They could use him. They could use his toughness a little bit. That hurts them somewhat. But no excuses for the Warriors. You're the experienced team. You have all this firepower, and Boston just looks like the better team. They look more aggressive. They look more real. I
Now I wonder
mean,
why.
Boston looks
I,
like Golden State, would be if they had some toughness.
ooh, ooh, ooh! Wow, Coach Uriah. Coach Uriah basically say, hopefully he just puts together the bed, puts to bed the Clay can be a number one option on his own team. He is a role player, and he owes everyone an apology for thinking he was a top 75 player ever.
He is a role player that owes everyone an apology for thinking he was a top 75 player. I,
Clay,
I don't
come
know.
home, Clay. Come home,
Who
Clay.
is top 75? I don't think he should. I don't think he should have been on this. I mean, what he's had, he set the record, a 3-point record in a game. Uh,
Yeah,
really, yeah.
number two all time in threes made in
He plays with
playoff
the best
history.
shooter ever, probably. That's all I see. I don't, yeah.
Whew. So I just, if, you know what, Clay? Come
I
home,
mean,
Clay. That's all you
yeah.
gotta do. Come home,
Yeah.
Clay. That's all you gotta do. Come home, Clay.
I don't know. I
Do
think
you?
he's.
Ooh. Top 75 players don't disappear in three straight finals games. I still take him. Come home, Clay. Come on home, Clay. Oh gracious, I can't wait to kick this. But excuse me. I'm sorry. So like we said, game four to be played in Boston on Friday. Uh, as we look to see what the outcome of that game is going to be. Does Clay show up? Will Steph be able to play? Does Draymond come back and show his impact? Does Robert Williams continue to assert his dominance in the fact of the matter? Someone that we're not talking about, in my opinion, we ain't saying nothing about Jaylen Brown. And I really, 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 really feel that Jaylen Brown is really the reason, and he's holding this team. He's the glue right now that's holding the team together. Even whether, regardless
Yeah.
of what Tatum's doing, Jaylen Brown is doing some heavy lifting, and he's the one. He's the stopgap at this point. So, but of course, like I said, game four, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in in Boston, uh, in which you continue on. Switching a little bit, going into yeah, I think true that, coach. I think he's the spot. I think he's the one. He should probably get the MVP at this point
Yeah.
because he's really made the difference. He game one, he started. He pushed the tempo. Well, technically between him and Horford, but for the most part, he was doing everything he could in game one. Game three, the same thing. So you could expect if he was to see the same thing out of him. So he's probably the MVP at this point, going forth, unless Tatum just turns up. But obviously, in my opinion, Jaylen Brown is really the MVP at this point. Uh, so, like I say, transition, pushing a little bit, going into this NFL. Uh, so I asked this question, so look if you could hear me, or anyone that's basically out there listening. Of course, we have free agent. Of course, free agent. I say free agent lightly. Offensive lineman Laurent Duvernay Tardif, who is currently giving up his NFL for a second time around as he looks to continue to pursue his a career in medicine, whether it's to backfield when he's done with his NFL career or whatever case like that. So the first time in which this happened, I say again because Laurent basically after winning the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs, he decided to go to to Canada where he's from to help out with the COVID. He came back to the Chiefs. The Chiefs allowed him back. His idea was to compete for a starting position in which he broke his hand, which did not allow him to compete for that starting position. He was relegated as a backup, in which he sat the bench until for about a month, in which then the Kansas City Chiefs traded him to the New York Jets, in which he played with New York Jets last year. Uh, Of course, we know it's the New York Jets, and currently he has gone back into becoming a free agent, so he can go to for the next three and hold a residency in Canada as he continues on. I ask this to any of y'all: are y'all's giving up uh, your career to pursue other dreams at that point? And he even says it's like he's fine with doing that. He feels like he can bet on himself to go do this residency and then come back. If a team wants to have him, then he'll play if he feels like it's right for him. If not, then he's fine with continue on this trajectory. I feel like that's the right mindset. Always bet on self. Um, but as a 32-year-old, 8-year veteran, as a lineman, I don't know if that's going to do how that's going to go for him. But at the end state, it's happened twice for him. Third times could be a charm as well. But of course, I applaud him for even going forth and be like, you know what? There's other things besides football, which I could be doing. So shout out to Lauren Duvernay Tardif as he goes and he pursues his aspirations. Um, Going back into Baker talk, Baker Mayfield was excused from the many, as we know, mini camps. Yes, I would do it. Of course, yeah. Never sees the dark side of playing professional sport. Oh, good point, coach. Options. That's the biggest thing. Options. I have options to be able to move in a different vein if you got to. No, no pun intended. But of course, I agree with you, coach, completely. Especially if you, like I said, bet on yourself. Always look forward to betting on yourself, being an individual. I'm all for it, all with it to make it attempt to happen. Of course, we've seen it a couple of times in which play people have decided to give up their NFL career to go do something else that is for a betterment of the world, quote unquote. And he's no different, so I could definitely agree to that. So, excuse me. As I was saying, Baker Mayfield was excused from minicamp, as we know, mandatory minicamp, as they basically said it was mutual between the team and Baker Mayfield and his camp to not for him not to proceed and come into the minicamp as they continue to look to see what they can do to get him a trade. I obviously, honestly think it's going to be, or maybe not. Or maybe no, I don't know. I don't know what to say about this Baker Mayfield situation. I was about to say, of course, it was ideally to have him right. Know what was going to happen with for suspension purposes with Deshaun Watson. But I say this, I ask this question, Slick, to Cornelius and to everybody else. Mayfield has not been with the organization since they traded for Deshaun Watson. Is that a little childish? Do you think? Like you get paid to play football, you may not be starting, but you saying you got to be a starter. You got to be. That's what you got to do. Like what happened to competing? The blasphemy. She rolling with Auntie and Crystal and them. What? Good morning, Hummer family.
Good morning. Good morning. Something wrong with his
What?
right shoulder, huh? Yeah,
They
but
converted her. But yeah, so back yeah for back like isn't that a little childish? Like okay, you compete competition breeds things. But again, I know it's a business, and you look at things like okay, I could go out there and compete, and but although Baker Mayfield is also recovering from an injury, so it's like maybe it is better that you don't bring him back. So you don't want him to injure or you don't want him to show a hand or anything like that. But okay, I thought I wasn't alone. Okay, coach.
it's okay. It's I think the Browns knew this the whole time, and now you see why they're making the moves that they're making. you know, like you know, you see what that's absolutely right the way the quarterbacks act like children. But yeah, it's clearly the Browns knew this. We were talking about the Browns possibly, doing him wrong a little bit here and there, but no, I think they knew this all along. The immaturity of the guy, and it's not just exclusive to him. It is a lot of quarterbacks out there that's like that. They don't want to be
Hmm.
challenged. As soon as you bring another quarterback in, like Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, it's the Aaron Rodgers thing, right? They drafted Jordan Love. He started acting crazy, right? I mean, he
Yeah.
started throwing fits. I'm not going to do this. I'm not, different things. I'm thinking about retiring. Um, I think that's just the nature of QBs of today's time. Well, majority of them, not all of them, but majority of them, they don't want to be challenged. They don't want to feel like But Baker, that whole I'm the first overall pick thing and all that stuff has definitely has his head in the clouds a little bit. But now he's coming back down to earth, and like when you up there, Trey, what happens when you crash?
It's a long
Sometimes,
fall.
when you crash, it's a long fall. So he has to deal. He's on his way back to earth. He'll figure it out. He has time. He's young enough to figure it out.
Take ownership. Ben Simmons' approach. Yeah.
I mean, and that's another thing too, the underperform part, where is guy had one hot season and everybody was talking about, oh, he's actually doing something, but no, check all his numbers. Yes, underperformed, and that's why the Cleveland Browns are moving the way that they're moving. They want to win. Clearly, the team wants to try to win or something, or put up a front at least because they're trying to win. But Baker's only hurting himself with his antics with the talk. I think he hurt himself. I think he hurt himself when he started naming teams that he would be going to. I think that really showed his immaturity. Also, you haven't even had a conversation with any of these teams or anything. You just start speculating on which team. You know, I mean, for real, like who are you to say what organizations are going to do, right?
Yeah.
If
True
we could
that.
all do that, where would we all be?
Yeah, and then
Where
not
would
to
we all
even
be?
mention the fact of come on now, blood in the water. When blood's in the water, especially in the NFL, is in the water. Like they know, like once it hits the news that hey, someone's looking to be traded or someone's looking to potentially be released, ain't no one for the trade for you unless you're that much of a talent. And even then, you gotta look at it like it's a business. Why would I sit up and pay all this money for you when you can be released and go on waivers and then someone else isn't going to touch you or all these other people are going to touch? Like at that point, especially once you clear waivers it's a whole waiting game at that point. And who's going to sit up and do that? Like they could have released Baker, and then of course someone the waiver orders are going to dictate if they can go or if they should go after him. But not and then at the end of the day, no one teams would pay. They're like, I'm not going to pay we're not going to pay 10 million or $8 million. We're not teams aren't even willing to pay 9 million for Baker Mayfield at this point because they know that Cleveland wants to get rid of him. So it's like it has to be the sweetest deal ever known in order to move him at this point, or hold him, or let him sit at home. Like it's like how good is that to let him sit at home? Let's say, just for instance that Deshaun does have to sit, and then you have Brissett that comes in. And then with Brissett coming in, even one, an injury, two, not so good. You have Baker Mayfield, who, true enough, has not been that productive over the course of the years that he's been there. But he has won some games. He's even taken y'all to a playoff almost. I mean, well, he's taking y'all to a playoff, a couple playoff series, or at least one in his years. So he's been formidable to say the least at most. But now he's been sitting at home all this time. He hasn't. Hopefully, he's rehabbing and he's working on his injuries and trying to rehab to where for whatever team in which he does the physical for, he can show like, okay, yeah, I still have a little something. But at this point, he's been sitting at home. He's not looking at anything. He's not seeing anything. He's not learning anything. And then potentially have to bring him in. I think that part of it is a bad business. But of course, like you said, everything is mutual. He's sitting out. He's not going to the mini camp. Uh, and I mean the season's only what this is all this is June, July. The season is just a little more than 90 days away, uh, and we don't see him. So it remains to be said. At least it's not the 49ers. I keep it to myself. If it was 49ers, then I'll probably be like, but it's not so. But it's just one of those things we look at it from an aspect of a media aspect, like, yo, Baker, Cleveland, like the whole thing, the tumultuous situation that they have with Deshaun right now in Cleveland. I would think that they would at least bring him in. But I digress. I asked this question though, Cornelius. Saquon Barkley. He's currently playing on his 5th-year option. In that playing with that 5th-year option, we know over the course of the last couple of years he's had injuries. The first year he had a knee injury. I mean, an ankle injury that sidelined him. Then a tore MCL, ACL the second season. The third season came back, or even last season came back, another ankle injury that kept him out. So, do you think going into his 5th year, where he's his contract year, basically, do you think it's a situation where Saquon actually gets back on the field, he takes care of business, that early flashes that we've seen in the beginning of his career that won him the Rookie of the Year is going to build to where Saquon is going to be a problem this year?
Um, no, no. We know running backs. We know running backs don't typically get better as they age. Name one that got better with age. I mean, running backs. You don't get better with age. Longevity. You could stretch it a little bit. He'll probably be decent, but be what he was. No, too many injuries. Um, Too many injuries. The game gets faster. Also,
True
defenses
that.
catch up with you. And you haven't played much. So no. My answer would be simply. I mean, name. I'm waiting. Name a running back that got better. It just doesn't happen.
So I wouldn't say he got better, but I would think that Darren Sproles is going to
Unfortunately, I think he was a talent, but it won't happen.
a waste of talent. Uh, yeah, but so true. So I think something that's beneficial, that's helpful to him at this point is the simple fact that he hasn't played much football. But those are low extremities, and what we're seeing is Saquon is supposed to be a person in which his lower extremities, or lower part of his body, is supposed to be the his key points, uh, and it might not bode well for him, but I think he does extend himself to where being gone for them 4 years, 3 years, and having those injuries is probably going to gives him some longevity. He could come back and be strong. I don't know, for whatever reason. In my fantasy, I usually get Saquon just for the sake of it, usually because he's better than any other running back that's left. And I'm kind of like forcing it, and it always comes back and bite me in the behind. But I do think that he has an opportunity, the possibility to be, excuse me, to be able to get something taken care of. I just think he can't be relied on that much. And like Cornelius is just saying, like the running back's shelf life is starting to diminish even more so and more every year. Of course, they're not seen as, I mean, they're more or less commodities at this point when it comes to the running back. Yeah, everything is a passing league nowadays. So that in terms, reference goes to the quarterbacks and the wide receivers, which when you think about it, shows in the linemen. So all that it shows in the money that's paid to them. Um, Speaking of money, the Rams secure the deal with Cooper Cup, 3 years, 80 million, worth 75 million guaranteed. Uh, Cup reset the market, of course. Um, in that, and even more so after that, the deal has an opportunity to be a 5 year, 110 million wide receiver market, in which at that point he'll get annually a 22 million, 20 million a year for Cup at this point. A little over 25 million at this point. Resetting the market. He came on himself. He's like he's not looking. He's not trying to reset. And he said he wasn't trying to reset any markets. He wasn't trying to look and see where Tyreek Hill was at or any other wide receiver was at. He's like his thing was he just wanted to get what he think was going to be fair for the organization to pay him and for him to get paid for what he does. And at the end of the day, the Rams thought that he was the best receiver in there, in which he should be paid as such, and that's what he gets with 25 million annually guaranteed. Uh, that's where you're at with it. Do you think it's well deserved? I mean, of course, it's just we can't say it's not deserving. Do you think that he's the best receiver out there, Cornelius, and he deserved to be paid as such?
Um, that's another one of those things where the guy had one hot year. But yeah, if I was the Rams, I would have played him. Who else are you going to play at that position? I think. I think. I don't know what's going to happen with the DK Metcalf, but I do think Metcalf and Devontae Adams are better receivers. I just go on and say that. But and I think it's just where the market is right now as far as the trends, man. Everything's trending. It's a trend thing. The NFL is definitely a trendy league. Pay him because what else are you going to do? 3 years is enough. But the guaranteed money, I'm impressed by all this guaranteed money, Trey. That's what impresses me the most. Like now, it's about time. A few years ago, we were saying the NFL was the only league where they didn't have those guaranteed contracts and stuff like that.
And
And
now the
now
guaranteed
they
contracts,
do. So
guaranteed
so
money.
big ups to those changes. Big ups to those changes. But Cooper Cup, I think he's worth it. I think he'll be worth it in the long run for what the Rams do. They have a solid coach, good quarterback. Those things will help. Now Metcalf is like if you like Metcalf is up for grabs because you don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. Drew Lock or Geno Smith. You know, who's going to get him? Who's going to give him the pills so he can do some things? I mean, that's the question. If he stays in Seattle, right?
Uh-huh.
You look around the league. Who else is worth it other than a handful of guys at the top? This is actually when I look back at things, I look at not to be funny or nothing, but Antonio Brown. Remember Antonio Brown? Remember him? This is the kind of money that you thought that he would be making.
Yeah.
For real. A few years ago, this is the kind of money you thought that he would be making or something.
That's what was on the table when he was in LA or when he was in Oakland or Las Vegas, and it didn't come
Right.
out. It didn't. Yeah.
Right. I like what the NFL is doing now, giving those guaranteed contracts, and I don't know what changed with that, but I would pay Cooper Cup. I know it's only one season, but Rams sit back. You can't get, like I said, who you gonna get to replace him? Who's better right now?
Definitely. One of the wide receivers. I take a look at it and be like, yeah, uh, he's money in the bank, guaranteed to get you something. Um, so why running backs? Going back to running backs. The bell cow running back might not be the most prevalent anymore, but however, I do think and would say that I think the running backs from that are receiving backs are. So out of these four running backs that I'm about to mention, let me know who you think is the better receiving back. We have Matt Breida for the Miami Dolphins. Um, Alvin Kamara, New Orleans Saints. Uh, Christian McCaffrey, Carolina Panthers, and now added to the fray, uh, Patterson with the Atlanta Falcons. If you was constructing your offense and you had one that you would grab, who would it be?
Kamara.
Kamar.
Yep, Kamara. Because when he's healthy, he's one of the best. And I think he's one of the best as far as spreading defenses. No linebacker can cover him. Uh, I think when you get him in space, he's tough to. He's shifty. He's tough to tackle. Reminds me of, then he has a little. He's not uh, very big. He reminds me of Thurman Thomas, man, with the for the not as probably not as durable as Thurman was. That was a different era, but
Yes.
Shirley has all those skills and can change the game with whether running it, catching it, whatever. He can change the game real fast. I take Kamara.
I, I'm a huge Christian McCaffrey fan. Um, but of course, we have the durability issues with Christian McCaffrey, where you would do that and you'd be like, you'd be out because, like, yo, you've been here. This is your fourth year in your contract. If you only played 1 year, so Kamara, of course, obviously in this case, only well for me only because Christian McCaffrey's durability issues. But I do think Patterson, for whatever reason, is coming on pretty strong. Uh, Cordell Patterson is coming on pretty strong. But like you said, Kamara has been doing it consistently, and he's an actual running back. Kamara, of course, Patterson is a converted wide
Yeah,
receiver converted to a running back. So yeah, I agree with Kamara. Uh, to
but
be able to
McCaffrey,
just what you say
McCaffrey
about
is like
McCaffrey?
McCaffrey is like the Gronkowski of running backs. The Gronkowski of running back. He just runs into everything and gets hurt.
Well, it's a good thing that he's not a Niner, so well, I don't have to worry about that aspect. I can just observe from the back end, just like same thing with Cooper Cup and Aaron Donald and the rest of these people, which I have to look at. So
I was surprised you didn't throw Debo in there
nah. So
because
yeah,
is he a receiver or running back? What is he? He's
he's
all
he's a
purpose.
yeah, he's all purpose, but that's some of the sticking points supposedly where he's trying to. Uh, See it, and when that point, when you look at it, when you bring that up, man, I just feel like that is something that you could have expressed to your coach and the staff to say like, hey, I really feel that the utilization for me as a running back is extremely too high. I'd like to see what we can do to dumb that down a little and go from there. It didn't take all in which it says. I mean, of course, you can't tell a person what to do. You know what I'm saying? People do things to get things across. I know I've done some things that some people would see as being a little too much, like extremely extra to get a point across. But at some point, which is I'm not no sure what he did or if he did bring it up and say, "Hey, can we?" or it's too much, but it does lead up, and so I'm hoping that there was a lead up to where they were at when they basically discussed this. It's like, okay, like had he been asking throughout the beginning of the season, throughout the course of the season, to like pull it back a little, like saying y'all hot, y'all using me a lot, or this is what it is, or to the point to where it's like, see, y'all played me, and this is what I got for y'all. And then we got to the point to where he is like, I'm just gonna go ahead and request a trade and I'm not coming because y'all utilize me too much. Or but then at the end of the day, I look at it as you're a player, and saying I had to put together an offensive scheme, and this is what it is, and this is the plan I'm running in the scheme, and this is you happen to be the best person to do this. But then at the same time, you have to look at it like he knows what he was feeling, or if there was ailments, and you really have to take that into consideration. So I hope they get that together, or bring in somebody that's willing to do that, so that way you can allow um, we can allow for Debo to just be that as a receiver, and maybe here and there a mix in of a sweep or something here and there to basically get it to where it's like, okay, now we have to worry about this guy, as opposed to just believe like, oh, knowing that okay, he's not going to get the ball. So I hope that comes about and we get that together. Um, Lastly, of course, what has happened, and I seen it coming, I seen it coming, I seen it coming. Like yesterday, we talked about the whole 66 masseuses and everything. Excuse me, the 66 masseuses and everything being utilized by Deshaun Watson. So, but in talking about that, what we came across is the fact of there was non-disclosure agreements given, these NDAs, and even with that, even more so, the NDAs were given by the head of security for the Houston Texans, which means they were in compliance, or someone was in compliance because he utilized the Houston Texans assets, I guess you could say, to carry out some of this. Even more so, some of the quote unquote meetups and stuff like that was taking place at the Houston Texans training facility. Again, making them compliant. So what do we have now? The Houston Texans have been added to the defense portion as defendants in the case. So now the Houston Texans have to deal with the situation as well.
And they should. And they should, because they know that they leaked it on him. They know that they sicked these people on him, man. They did it for a reason, and they should, and they should have to deal with it. Like karma is a thing out there, man. As far as they did it. It's clear that they did it, and now that everything's coming out, it's starting to make sense now, right? Like it's really starting to make sense. He didn't want to play for you, so you decided to leak this information or start this whole process, and you thought that you were above it. I don't like that organization. I know there's a lot of Texans fans out there, Trey, but the truth of the matter is, I've never liked the organization because of their owner. Their ownership. It's been proven that they've been. I'm not going to even say racist, but a prejudicial organization, discriminative organization since the beginning, since they started. So I've never liked them. That's why I won't root for them. It's my hometown. I would never root for them until they clean house, clean the whole organization out, start over. I'm not playing. I've always felt that way. It doesn't matter about who wears the jerseys and stuff like that. I know it's a business, but I've never liked that organization because of the things. I mean, I'm just gonna put this out there. You know what they feel and how they feel about certain things. When the owner himself refers to his own players as inmates, or the inmates are taking over. I mean, I
Yeah,
can't support that. I won't support that. The inmates are taking over the prison or whatever he said, man. You know, that's pitiful. And for anybody, I'm serious. For any player, I know it's money. I know it's about money, and it comes down to different things. But for any player, minority or whatever, that wants to go play for that team, I feel bad for you because these are the things that they do. And then and then you see now you're starting to see just how messed up the Texans organization is, right along with the Commanders. What are they? The Commanders now? Yeah,
yeah, the
Washington
Commanders.
Commanders. Now you're starting to see that it starts at the top.
And it was, I think Coach Uriah has said that, brought that up yesterday about that comment as well, of letting the inmates run their asylums and all that type of stuff, and or the inmates are taking over prisons. When he was talking about they was going through, I think, the CBA talks and stuff like that. So it's definitely that. And now we said, like, they're saying that, of course. Believes that Houston Texans were aware of Deshaun Watson and these situations and incidences, and believe that they created an environment for him to thrive in it and continue to do as such, and allowed him to do that. So it does. That being said, you do bring up a good point to where is it a possibility to where they knew that it was all that these things were going on, and that everything was how everything was coming out. They definitely, without a reasonable doubt, knew. And now, or even now, it brings a different frame when you, just as you was talking about, is it, as we've always thought, that someone started this and pushed this along in reference to this whole situation when Deshaun decided he wanted to leave Houston without a doubt. And now, of course, a year of things came about. Uh, some things got cleared, and it came back and was like they went ahead and pulled the trigger on the trade, but probably with the mindset of we're not done, or it's not done yet, and voila, here we are. But now, of course, like I said, the Houston Texans are now being named additionally in this as defendants in this case, being that they allowed for the culture to continue under their reign. So there you have it. Unfortunate. Cornelius Jessup has basically talked about it and said it. Uh, he feels like the organization doesn't stand or isn't predicated to stand for minorities, or isn't ran correctly, and it needs to be. Of course, it's hard to get rid of the owner unless the league steps in and do that, in which you probably have to have a whole situation like what they're having in with the commanders, in which you have to do a deep dive and go and take a look at some things and bring up some stuff. So there we are. We have it. It's in sports. So um, that's where we have today. You know, saying finishing a little early for the show. Well, actually, hold on. Let me go back and look at something. Finishing a little early for the show. Um, yeah, finish a little early for the show. Um, what do we have for it to look for on the Stimulate Your Line show, the Sim show, come next week, Cornelius? Anything juicy we got, or anything you got slated?
But those are those things. Talk putting that whole Deshaun Watson thing into life form.
Okay,
Just talking about the wellness and that show. My next show is dedicated to cancer. As I just had a friend of mine. I was the best man in his wedding, and he's found out that he has cancer. He's fighting cancer right now. So that's just a two-part show discussing those things.
okay. Of course, be sure to check out the Sim show, Stimulate Your Mind show with the People's Coach Cornelius Cole every Tuesday. So at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time, of course, 4:30 for those Central Standard. Uh, uh, on WRDB, is it?
Yes, WDRB Media.
Yes, WRDB Media. So be sure you can always check that out and go and hear the intricate talks and stuff which you're having about and having conversations and speaking about those things. Some stuff in which people don't care to speak about or just want to remain quiet about. Other things in which what we don't know. So of course, always opportunity to get some education or be enlightened on some stuff. Um,
Oh yeah, Trey. I also threw this out there on my show. Call for Congress 2024, maybe 2026. We may see that call for Congress.
Congress in North Carolina, or are you going? Are you
No,
Minnesota? You
Minnesota.
know, Minnesota?
Minnesota, my home, so
Code for
I'll
Congress.
have to run for Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Code for Congress. Oh, okay. That's right. The residency. Code for Congress. Y'all heard it. You can say putting it out there. COLE. That's where he at. Code for Congress 2024.
2024 or 2026. One of the
One and
two.
two. One and
Yes.
two. So when y'all start seeing it, you start seeing Cornelius come on here in them suits and talking about
Mhm.
reform for certain sports and stuff like that, and start pushing the certain agendas and initiatives. Be sure to take a close look and start to listen. So of course we greatly appreciate Cornelius coming on later in the show. Uh, of course, like I said, we're here every Monday through Friday 09 to 1100 hours. Talk about, even though we're in sports, it starts to segues into different things. It's just sports is just the avenue and the vehicle that pushes it. But we get into other things and have conversations and speak about other stuff. It's not just about sports, but sports is the avenue. Uh, as we just said, Congress Code for Congress 2024, 2026, Minnesota. Y'all got a good man there. We greatly appreciate. We'll be back here again tomorrow to talk, have conversations. Of course, Friday, game 4 Friday. We'll be there. I don't know, Bishop may be on. He after the first day it turned up in Las Vegas. That'll be another conversation to talk about to see how that has going. Is a kid in the candy shop, or could he hang? We'll find out. We don't know. We greatly appreciate y'all rocking with us today. High speeds being information. Look forward to seeing y'all tomorrow. And so until then, we look forward. We'll see you then. At this time, show attention. Fall out.